I, 23-year-old female, have been dating Noah, 25-year-old male, for more than 3 years now. We met through friends, and he's truly the love of my life. Admittedly, my parents never liked him because I was only 19 while he was 22. I admit, this is natural, and we gave them plenty of time to trust him. They also wanted me to marry someone more polished, the word they used. Noah is not Catholic, nor is he from a wealthy background. He also has tattoos, which is a pretty big sin for my family. I knew my family was pretentious like that, but I never thought they would berate me for choosing my own life partner. Noah is more successful than me, and he takes care of me more than anyone else. My brother used to tell me that my parents thought I was going through my rebellious phase later in life, because I never used to go against their wishes before. This is true, but I've explained to them that it's because I didn't know I had a choice. They thought I would eventually break up with him. A few months ago, I found out that I'm pregnant. It was not planned at all. But Noah and I used to talk about starting a family way before this. So even though things are happening a lot earlier than we planned, we wanted to go ahead with it. Soon after, Noah proposed as well. We hosted a dinner for both our families and told them the news, and this is where things got out of control. I didn't want to shock them, so my brother had also told them that I was engaged, but I wanted to tell them about the pregnancy face to face. I don't get to see them much since they live far away, and this was special to me. But this is one of the reasons I feel like I'm the bad person. I feel like maybe I put too much pressure. Anyways, they came, they saw the ring, and pretended to be okay with it. But after we started eating, they were continuously making snide remarks, like how Noah could afford such a ring, or that it's fake. Now, Noah is not a person to take shoot, and after a lot of comments, he told them that if they had the class they showed with their money, my name, wouldn't have to be scared of telling them she's pregnant. To say they were shocked is an understatement. My mom started crying. My dad started fighting with my mother-in-law about Noah trapping me. I was so stressed and scared. They just kept shouting. Noah told them to get out, but before leaving, my mother told me to get rid of it. I couldn't believe what she said. I still didn't say anything. I was shocked. The next day when they called, I told them they were uninvited from the wedding. They were okay. They even said they were free of a burden. But after a week, they called, apologized, and said that missing their only daughter's wedding would be devastating. But I shouted a lot that day. I called them names, and I just lost it. It's been a while with no contact. I overthink a lot nowadays, hormones, I guess. But I want to know, what if I explained the pregnancy before they got shocked? Maybe if I told them instead of Noah, I don't know. They have given me everything my entire life, my education, everything. Am I the bad person? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. But do you really think, after you two have been dating for 3 years, your family will warm up to him still? You stated that they don't like that he has tattoos, or the ages of when you two started dating, and they also don't like that he's not from a wealthy family. Your parents have made it clear from the start they do not like Noah and do not support your relationship. Why would you want people at your wedding that do not support you two? And why would you subject Noah to their negativity more than he already has? If you do invite them back to the wedding, then you're the idiot. If you really love him, stick to your guns. Don't invite them to the wedding. Chances are, if you do, either Noah will break up with you because he shouldn't have to put up with their comments, or they will do something to cause a big scene at the wedding. Comment 2. You didn't do anything wrong. It's entirely possible that their apology is sincere. You'd know better than I would. But here's the thing. If you do allow them back into your life, then they need to follow certain rules. The top one of those is that they must be respectful to you and your fiancé, and never talk trash about him either in front of you or behind your back. They don't have to like him, but they do have to be polite and respectful. You have to have a shiny spine, which you have, but it's never easy to stand up to family. Not the idiot. Now, for the update. Hey everyone. It's been 3 days since I last updated you all on the situation with my parents and the pregnancy. And let me tell you, it's been a roller coaster. I know you've all been waiting to hear what happened next, so here goes. After I hung up on my parents that day, I was a mess. Noah, bless his heart, was there for me every step of the way. He's always been my rock, even when we first started dating, and my parents were giving him the cold shoulder. He's never been anything but kind and supportive, and I couldn't ask for a better partner. The next day, I was still reeling from the argument when my phone buzzed with a text from my brother. He's always been the mediator in the family, trying to keep the peace. He told me that my parents were really upset and that they wanted to talk to me. I was hesitant, but Noah encouraged me to hear them out. He's always believed in second chances, and I guess that's one of the reasons I fell for him in the first place. So, I called them back. The conversation was tense at first, but then my mom started crying. She said she was sorry for what she said, that it was out of shock and fear. My dad, who's always been a man of few words, actually spoke up and apologized too. He said he was scared of losing me to a life he didn't understand. It was a side of him I'd never seen before. We talked for hours, and I told them about how Noah and I had been planning to start a family, just not this soon. I explained how much he means to me and how he's been there for me in ways they never saw. It was like they were finally seeing Noah for the man he is, not the tattoos or the lack of a Catholic upbringing. The next day, they asked if they could come over and talk in person. I was nervous, but I agreed. When they arrived, it was awkward at first, but then my mom pulled out this old baby blanket that belonged to me. She handed it to me and said it was for the baby. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to me. We sat down and had dinner, the same as we had planned before everything went south. Only this time, there were no snide remarks, just genuine conversation. My parents asked Noah about his job, and they were genuinely impressed with how he's built his career from the ground up. They even joked about how he might teach their grandchild to be just as successful. The evening ended with my dad pulling Noah aside. I didn't hear everything they said, but I saw them shake hands. When Noah came back to me, he had this look of relief on his face. He told me that my dad had given us his blessing, something I never thought I'd see. It's been a whirlwind, but things are looking up. My parents have started to come around, and they're actually excited about the baby. They've even offered to help with the wedding plans, which is a huge step for them. Noah and I are just happy that we can start focusing on our little family without the tension that's been hanging over us. It's not perfect, and I know there will be more bumps in the road, but for now, we're just taking it one day at a time. Mael says my daughter looks like her dad's mugshot, so we cut her off, but now she's secretly talking to him. So I wanted to use a throwaway account for this post. I, 27-year-old female, made a lot of mistakes when I was younger, and at 16, I had a baby daughter. Her father was much older and a very bad guy, and was sent away to prison before she was born. We, of course, have no contact today. I'm ashamed of my past, and do everything in my power to better myself and provide for my daughter. For example, I missed out on my GED when I was younger, so I studied to achieve it later in life. I'm currently part-time at college while working. My daughter is 11 years old, healthy, and flourishing in school. I couldn't be prouder of her. 6 years ago, I met my current husband, 27-year-old male, and he's just a wonderful human being. He's been nothing but supportive to me, and an amazing person to be around my daughter. So much so that after we married 2 years ago, he formally adopted my daughter. The only problem is his mom. She's very conservative, a born-again Christian, and the interactions we've had together have never been good. I've always been very aware that she dislikes me as a result of my past and didn't want my husband to marry me or adopt my girl. But on both sides, we were able to be civil enough, to a degree, that I imagined she'd just accepted it. My husband doesn't have the best relationship with her either, but tries his best, and I've always supported him throughout that. Even so, I dislike her, and I know she hates me. Recently, though, she said something really awful. It was during a family meal. She came over with her husband, my husband's stepfather, and we ate alongside my daughter. My mother-in-law kept staring at my daughter to such an extent that she was visibly uncomfortable. I asked her politely why she kept looking at her like that, to which my mother-in-law coldly asked if she looked anything like her father and whether we could compare her face to his mugshot. Needless to say, I was floored. My husband was furious, and my daughter actually cried, which made me start bawling too. My mother-in-law smirked and just left with her husband, and since then, my husband and I refused her access to our home. This was a month ago. A few family members have started admonishing us for keeping her away for as long as we have. My reply is that she hasn't apologized, and so we don't want her back, but they're saying we're being cruel and not being understanding of her moral values. She has apparently said she's sorry about what happened, but crucially, she hasn't said that to me. Am I being a major AH, or am I within my rights here? Edit. I forgot to mention that my mother-in-law has since been bad-mouthing me to the rest of the family, even more than she did before. She still has not said sorry to me, though. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Don't allow her to have contact with your child again. And when anyone says anything about it, say it's because you were appalled at your mother-in-law's lack of Christian values. Specifically, say you don't want a fake Christian around your daughter, and until your mother-in-law sincerely apologizes and proves she can actually act like a Christian, then she can't have any contact. Throw that woman's fake religious moral values right back in her face. Comment 2. Not the idiot. She was intentionally cruel to a child. She's lucky that you didn't deck her right then and there. Certainly, do not allow her any access to your child or home. Even if she comes up with a real apology, you may consider accepting. And since I'm super petty, I would even consider going to her pastor for advice about what to do about such non-Christian behavior by a member of his flock. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a month since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you all. So, buckle up, because this has been a wild ride. After the incident at the family meal, things went from bad to worse. My husband and I were adamant about keeping my mother-in-law away, especially after she started spreading lies about me to the rest of the family. She was painting herself as the victim, saying she was just concerned for my daughter's well-being and that we were overreacting. It was infuriating, but we stood our ground. Then, 2 weeks ago, my husband's stepfather showed up at our door. He's always been a quiet man, not one to get involved in drama, but this time, he had something to say. He revealed that my mother-in-law had been keeping a secret from all of us. She had been in contact with my daughter's biological father. I was shocked. My husband was livid. The man was still in prison, and we had no idea how she even found him or what she was thinking. It turns out, my mother-in-law had been sending him letters and photos of my daughter, telling him all about her life. She believed that he had a right to know about his child, despite the fact that he was a dangerous man and had no place in our lives. My husband's stepfather had discovered this by accident and felt it was his moral duty to tell us. We were faced with a dilemma. On one hand, we were betrayed and hurt by my mother-in-law's actions. On the other, we had to consider the safety of our daughter. We decided to take legal action to ensure that my daughter's biological father couldn't reach out to her. It was a stressful and emotionally draining process, but we had to protect her. In the midst of all this, my husband's stepfather became an unexpected ally. He apologized for his wife's behavior and offered to support us in any way he could. It was a surprising twist, but it also made us realize that not everyone in my husband's family was against us. Now, here's where it gets even more complicated. My mother-in-law, upon finding out that we were taking legal action, showed up at our house, begging for forgiveness. She was in tears, saying she only wanted what was best for my daughter and that she didn't realize the gravity of her mistake. My husband was torn. This was his mother, after all, and she seemed genuinely remorseful. We had a long, heated discussion. Voices were raised, and old wounds were reopened. In the end, we decided to give her a chance to make amends, but with strict boundaries. She would have to respect our rules and understand that any further interference with my daughter's biological father would result in us cutting ties for good. It's been a tense few weeks since then. My mother-in-law has been walking on eggshells, trying to regain our trust. She's been more respectful, and there's been a noticeable change in her behavior. But the damage she caused runs deep, and it's going to take a long time for things to even resemble normalcy. My daughter, bless her heart, has been incredibly brave through all of this. She's had to deal with so much at such a young age, but she's handling it with a maturity that amazes me. My husband and I are doing our best to support her and each other. So, that's where we are now. It's a bittersweet situation. We've managed to protect our daughter and bring some semblance of peace back into our lives, but the trust that was broken is going to take a long time to rebuild, if it ever fully can. My mother-in-law's betrayal has left a scar on our family that won't easily fade. As for the family members who were admonishing us, some have come around after learning the full story. Others still think we're being too harsh, but at this point, our priority is our daughter's safety and well-being, not their opinions. Introduce my kids to boyfriend's parents, and his dad makes racist jokes in front of them. So I take my daughter out of the room and text my BF this. I honestly can't tell if I'm overreacting or not, but here goes. I have 2 kids, a 7-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy, and recently I've started introducing them to my boyfriend's parents. Now my boyfriend's dad has no filter. There is nothing he will not say. They were over at our house yesterday, and we were sitting at the kitchen table with my daughter before we left to go to a restaurant for dinner. He was saying the most vile things, terribly discriminatory, hateful, sexist jokes. Every swear word you can imagine, the N-word, all of it. My boyfriend is laughing, swearing, going along with it. I end up taking my daughter out of the room and keeping her busy until we go out to eat. We get to the restaurant. He openly mocks my 9-year-old son, tells him he's a girl because he has long hair, and asks if he wears a training bra because of that. He makes jokes about my daughter playing hockey and how girls can't play sports. Everyone is laughing except me, my son and daughter. I'm desperately making comments to try and diffuse the situation. At one point, he asks me to describe how tight the butt was of a woman whom I had been referencing in a story. On and on with this stuff. I get home, and I can't sleep all night. I'm so mad at myself for not calling it out, for not saying something while it was happening. I texted my boyfriend, and I said going forward, I'm going to keep the kids out of his family's stuff. It's not my style, I don't want the kids around it. Whatever. A huge fight follows. He says it's just the way he is, that he has good intentions. He doesn't mean anything by it. He says, it's my responsibility to teach the kids that different people exist, that they need to learn that that's how some people are, and that's the way it is. I say no. It's my job to protect my kids now, to show my daughter that she doesn't need to tolerate old creepy men who say offensive things just to avoid making people uncomfortable. That my son shouldn't have to put up with a grown man making jokes at his expense and have adults laugh at him when he can't defend himself. I ask him why he isn't as mad as I am that his dad is saying that stuff so freely around kids. Why isn't he angry that his dad is making horrible intimacy comments to his son's girlfriend? I say that any adult who says such vile things so freely around small children is a piece of shit. I know that it's hard for my boyfriend to feel like I'm attacking his dad, but it makes me so angry, and I really think he is a disgusting man. I'm very open to advice and opinions. We are on the verge of breaking up over this. Edit to add, I'm quite literally reading every single comment, and it's making me emotional to have so much validation that I was right in setting this boundary. I'm pulling pieces from each response, and it makes me feel so confident in what I've done and how I can move forward in conversations with my kids about what happened and how I'm going to fix things with them. I'm in a good position. I own my house, and it's just me and the kids. Boyfriend lives on his own and only sleeps over when the kids are at their dad's. I have no problem leaving a bad relationship behind me. I think I was convincing myself that I was overreacting and crazy. Thanks to these comments, I know that I'm not. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot. Why are you with your boyfriend and deflecting the fact that your boyfriend went along with his dad's behavior? Guess what, sunshine? Your boyfriend is a straight-up nightmare, and you're continuing to expose your vulnerable children to him. Forget his dad, he's a disaster too. Be the parent your kids need you to be and dump him today. Comment 2. We are on the verge of breaking up over this. Good. Your boyfriend should not be defending his father saying vile things in front of your children. Edit. Everyone sucks here because your boyfriend is going along with this situation, and you're acting like his dad is the sole issue. He isn't. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you all. After the incident with my boyfriend's dad, things have been tense, to say the least. I've been doing a lot of thinking and talking with my kids about what happened. They're smart, and they understand a lot more than we give them credit for. My daughter, bless her, has been asking questions about why Grandpa would say such mean things, and my son has been quieter than usual, which worries me. So, I sat my boyfriend down for a serious talk. I told him that his dad's behavior was unacceptable and that it was affecting the kids. I reminded him of the time when we first met, how he told me he wanted to be a role model for my kids, someone they could look up to. I asked him what happened to that guy, because the man laughing at his dad's jokes wasn't him. He was quiet for a long time, and then he said something that shocked me. He admitted that he was scared of his dad, that he'd always been. He said that growing up, his dad was the kind of man who ruled the house with an iron fist and a sharp tongue. My boyfriend had learned to laugh along to avoid becoming the target himself. It was a side of him I'd never seen, and it made me see the situation in a new light. We decided to give it another shot, but with clear boundaries. His dad was not to be around the kids until he could behave appropriately. My boyfriend agreed and said he would talk to his dad. A few days later, my boyfriend came over, looking like he'd been through a storm. He told me he'd confronted his dad, told him about the boundaries we'd set, and it had not gone well. His dad had laughed in his face, told him he was whipped and that he was letting a woman run his life. My boyfriend had stood his ground though, and I was proud of him for that. But here's where things get really crazy. My boyfriend's mom called me the next day. She'd never done that before, and I was immediately on edge. She was crying, saying she was sorry for her husband's behavior, and that she needed to tell me something important. She confessed that my boyfriend's dad had been having an affair for years, and she'd just found out. She was planning to leave him and wanted my support. I was floored. This was the man who had mocked my son, made sexist comments about my daughter, and now I find out he's been cheating on his wife. It was like the final piece of the puzzle fell into place, and I saw him for who he really was. My boyfriend was devastated when I told him. He couldn't believe his dad had been living a lie all these years. It explained a lot about his behavior, though. The bravado, the cruelty, it was all a front. We're still working through things, but it's been a wake-up call for my boyfriend. He's been more attentive to the kids, and he's been going to therapy to deal with his childhood issues. It's like he's finally stepping out of his dad's shadow. As for me, I'm just trying to keep my family safe and happy. It's been a roller coaster, but I feel like we're finally moving in the right direction. The kids are doing better, and we're talking more about feelings and how to handle people who don't treat us right. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.